Right now at 5, a diver from KISS Rebreathers tragically passed away during one of the expeditions, and the cause of his unfortunate death has been revealed.
Our tower camera at 7th and Range Line is iced over. Depending on where you are, either the roads are all right or they are pretty slick. We'll take a look at all of that coming up.
Also, the Joplin Esports Club hosts its inaugural fundraising tournament.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Carrie Worthen.
I'm Chris Warner. So we are waking up, some of us, to some not so pleasant wintry weather out there. And of course, on top of that, it is very, very cold. So we are actually beginning this morning with a traffic alert for the area, especially if you are along and south of I-44. We are dealing with slick road conditions across the region. So let's take a look at the MoDOT cameras across the Joplin Metro. Now, up in the upper right, that's 32nd and Range Line. That one completely iced over. It's difficult to see. So here's the problem with the icy roads this morning is this is a thin glaze of ice. So the roads either just simply look wet, or in some cases, they don't look as though they've been impacted at all. But that is the trick of black ice out there. You can't see it until you hit it. So on the Kansas side of things, KDOT is reporting some partially covered roadways across parts of southeast Kansas and some wet pavement out there. Our producer Karenza said further north where she was, there was a little bit of rain. And then as we get down here, we're dealing with some light snow, freezing fog, and we had some freezing drizzle overnight. So MoDOT reporting some covered roadways along and south of I-44, and then some partly covered roadways around the Joplin area. And as you head further north, they do look a little bit better. The other side of this is the scraping you're going to have to do, because we've had freezing drizzle and freezing fog all night long. So it may take you an extra 5 to 10 minutes to get that thick layer of ice off there. Now, Skywatch Storm Tracker is clear, but again, snow is so finite that radar can't always pick it up. This is where it gets a little crazy, is we have winter weather advisories, but depending on where you are, they run until different times. If you're along and north of I-44, they run until 9 this morning. If you're south of I-44 on the Missouri side, they run through midnight tonight, and if you're in northeast Oklahoma, they run through 6 a.m. this morning. Again, the camera at 7th and Range Line that we have there completely iced over. 18 degrees in Joplin, north breeze at 14, making it feel like 4. And that's the other side of this system this morning is, look at this, 15 Iola, 17 Pittsburgh, 20 Miami, Neosho, and Monette. And you factor in even a light breeze, and we've got dangerously cold wind chills out there for some of us. 1 in Iola, 4 in Columbus, 8 in Miami this morning. Again, the MoDOT camera showing those icy conditions out there, so that's why we have a red light, as well as a light wintry mix tapering off through your morning drive, and a red light for the drive home, as we will continue to see a light wintry mix again this evening, mostly along and south of I-44. A lot of schools have not canceled yet, so we're looking at 17 when people get on the bus, 23 by 3 o'clock, and we're not doing a lot of warming today. We'll have a stray flurry or two out there where we're looking at a high of right around 25 to 30 degrees. So cold, blustery, and dangerous wind chills. It's going to be cold. It's going to be nasty. And again, if you're in those winter weather advisories, those roadways very slick. So do take it slow. And I know something you've got is Joplin Police Department has issued the emergency road conditions, and you'll talk a little more about that.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Due to inclement weather, Joplin Police Department has initiated emergency road conditions. Under these conditions, the department asks all drivers to only venture out if it's absolutely necessary. They say if you are involved in a traffic crash and nobody is injured, that the drivers are to exchange information, including names, addresses, phone numbers, insurance companies, and policy numbers. Drivers should also move their vehicles off the roadway as soon as possible. Officers will only respond to crash involving injuries where one of the drivers leaves the scene without exchanging information. Multiple tractor-trailer crashes occur on a night of inclement weather conditions. Just after 7 p.m. Sunday night, Newton County Central Communications were alerted to crashes at I-49 and US 60. Authorities discovered 2 tractor-trailers left I-49 and crashed below onto US 60. One crashed through the median between the bridges over US 60. One crash trapped the driver. Troopers say that drivers and passengers suffered non-life-threatening injuries. A Knoll, Missouri fire investigation turns into a death investigation. Just before 7 a.m. Sunday morning, McDonald County Emergency 911 were alerted to a structure fire near North Kings Highway and Railroad Street inside city limits. authorities discovered a shed fully involved in fire. While crews extinguished the blaze, they discovered a body that had perished in the fire. The subject has not been identified, but authorities believe that deceased was living in the shed. The Missouri State Fire Marshal was contacted to assist in investigating the fire. Authorities plan to conduct an autopsy this week. You can follow this developing story on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. We have some developing news coming out of Commerce, Oklahoma. The Quapaw Nation Marshal Service is conducting a death investigation on Vine Street in Commerce. Authorities say there is currently no threat known to community relative to the incident. However, there are numerous public safety vehicles on scene, and authorities ask that the public avoids the area so that public safety officials can complete their work. This is a developing story and we'll update it as more information becomes available. Remains found during the search for Athena Brownfield has been positively identified as those of 4-year-olds. Athena was reported missing on January 10th after her sister was found alone by a postal carrier in Cyril, Oklahoma. The funeral was held for Athena last week, but Oklahoma's chief medical examiner just announced the positive confirmation. Athena's 2 caretakers have been charged in the case. Ivan Adams charged with murder and child neglect. Alyssa Adams faces 2 counts of child neglect. Court documents show Alyssa Adams claimed to have witnessed Ivan severely beating Athena on Christmas and leave with her body. In October of 2022, divers from Kiss Rebreathers explored Roaring River in Cassville, Missouri in 2 teams of 2. Unfortunately, one of the divers, Eric Hahn, drowned during one of the expeditions. KOAM received a copy of the accident report from public records. An expert from the National Speleological Society explained that Hahn had a seizure underwater due to oxygen toxicity.
The oxygen content in the tank attached was definitely, or in the bailout that is also used for feeding that rebreather, was definitely too high. So that would have been a human error, basically.
KOAM reached out to Kiss Rebreathers dive team for a comment. We have not yet received a response. The Joplin Esports Booster Club hosted their inaugural fundraising tournament at Joplin High School. Competitors played Smash Brothers Ultimate for an $850 prize pool. More than 100 competitors signed up to play from other high schools, colleges, and even the professional level.
I've been gaming all my life, so I played Super Smash Brothers, League of Legends, all of our esports games. And I was just excited to take the opportunity. It's growing in Missouri. Pretty much every high school in the state competes in esports in some fashion.
Our goal here is to just reach out to some kids that don't actually get supported, or at least they don't feel like they get supported in a traditional school setting. So our goal is just to kind of bring those kids in and make them feel welcome, give them an Eagle jersey to put on.
$30 participation fee goes to Joplin High School esports program so the team can attend other gaming events. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Chiefs faced off against the Bengals last night. We'll have who is facing the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Plus, a couple who has been married for 80 years sits down and shares their secrets to a long and happy marriage. And why working in groups may prove beneficial for seniors. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Well, the Kansas City Chiefs are headed back to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs beat the Cincinnati Bengals 23-20 last night to punch their ticket to Arizona for Super Bowl 57. It's the 3rd time in the last 4 seasons the Chiefs have made the Super Bowl. In last night's game, quarterback Patrick Mahomes battled through an ankle injury and threw for 326 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kicker Harrison Butker sealed the deal, nailing a 45-yard field goal in the final seconds to give the Chiefs a chance at their 3rd Super Bowl title. Fans took to the streets to celebrate in Philadelphia last night, after the Eagles became the first team to advance into the 2023 Super Bowl. The Eagles defeated the San Francisco 49ers with a final score of 31-7 at their home stadium. Super Bowl will be played on February the 12th. Well, still to come, a streamer whose fish was playing Pokemon accidentally commits credit card fraud. And it is icy. Schools are closing. We'll have the latest when we come back. We are beginning this morning with a traffic alert, especially for those drivers along and south of I-44. Taking a look at the MoDOT cameras across the metro area, 30-second and range line cameras completely iced over. And what's hard to see is the fact that these roads are icy. This shine is not from moisture, it is from ice out there, making travel very dangerous this morning. On the Kansas side, we've got some partially covered roadways, and we also have some wet pavement in parts of southeast Kansas, so do be cautious out there. On the Missouri side, we actually have some roads listed as covered across southwest Missouri, others partly covered from I-44 up to about, say, Lamar, and then you get north of that, and we're a little bit better. So that's why we do have these winter weather advisories that are in place. And in terms of the ice out there, it could take you an additional 5 to 10 minutes to get some of that ice off of your car this morning, because we've been dealing with this freezing drizzle and freezing fog all night long, and that's built up a decent little layer of ice on the windshield. Winter weather advisories. This is where it gets a little bit on the tricky side. Is if you're north of I-44 Missouri, it runs until 9. If you're south of I-44 Missouri, it runs until at least midnight tonight. And for northeast Oklahoma, these expire at 6 this morning. So taking a look at our camera at 7th and range line, you can see it is iced over. We got 18 degrees, feeling like 4 with a north breeze of 14 out there. And even with that light breeze, well, okay, 14's not that light, especially in this weather. Look at this, 15 Iola, 17 Pittsburgh, 20 Miami, Neosho, 19 Carthage, 17 in Lamar. You factor in that breeze, feels like 1 in Iola and Yates Center, 6 in Parsons, 8 Miami, 10 Neosho, feels like 3 in Lamar and Nevada this morning. So a very cold start. Again, those cameras from MoDOT showing those icy conditions out there, and that's why we do have a red light for your morning drive. We'll have a light wintry mix persisting through at least 7 a.m. and then a stray flurry or two possible through the day, but we're otherwise mostly cloudy and cold. We don't do a lot of warming, and a red light for your evening commute as well, as we have an additional round of some wintry weather. Again, mostly along and south of I-44, but it's something to watch out for, and as you see, we don't warm up. The bus stop forecast is getting ready to become a moot point, except for those in southeast Kansas. We're starting to see a number of Missouri schools begin to close this morning. For those in southeast Kansas, we're looking again maybe a stray flurry or two, 17 gusty winds up to 25 out of the north, 23 by 3 o'clock, and mostly cloudy. We're not warming up a lot today, a high of right around 29. Again, we'll have that light wintry mix again, and with the gusty winds, it's going to feel a lot colder out there. Down to 20 for the overnight low tonight under mostly cloudy skies, and we have additional rounds of possible wintry weather as we head into tomorrow evening. We could see another wintry mix, and then possibly a wintry mix heading into Thursday morning as well. But you can see, once we get through all this, we start to warm up, and by Groundhog Day, we are certainly hopeful he does not see his shadow. Well, a couple in Baltimore County, Maryland will celebrate their 80th anniversary on Saturday. Megan Rivers sat down with them and asked them about their secret to success.
I just didn't pay him any attention.
Geraldine Chambers giggles as she reflects on her marriage to her husband, Willie. It's been nearly a century since they met.
I've known her ever since she's around 4 years old.
Willie is 99 and his sassy bride is 98 years young. Mr. Chambers remembers the moment he finally mustered up the courage to share his feelings.
As memory served me, on a fifth Sunday.
In the late 1930s, church and school was the only place the two could snag a glimpse of each other. Mrs. Chambers, well, she didn't make it too easy.
One of my classmates told me, there's somebody that wants to talk to you. I said, who? That's all right. Don't worry about who. You'll find out.
In his wife, Mr. Chambers says he's found what God intended for him to have. And the last 8 decades was a choice he made every day.
Well, when you have a helper and very persuasive, it's not hard.
So what's the secret to longevity?
I dare not tell you.
But in any relationship,
The marriage hasn't always been cream and honey.
you find something about your mate that you can't live without.
One thing I love about her, she's bossy.
I'm glad you said that.
I don't know, she grows on you.
And they say you realize that's the secret.
The world is hers as far as I'm concerned.
And doing life only makes sense with each other.
I guess I love her because she's Geraldine.
Well, the couple have 2 daughters, 6 grandchildren, 13 great-grandchildren, and 8 great-great-grandchildren. That brings us to our question for you. How long have you been married? Has it been less than a year, 1 to 3 years, 4 to 8 years, 9 to 15, or 16 plus, or maybe you're not married at all? Make sure you vote through our website, through the app, and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page, and we will be back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, it's been a long believed exercise is beneficial for seniors. And now there's evidence exercising with others offers older people even greater benefits. Researchers in Japan conducted a study that monitored seniors who exercise both solo and in groups. They found those who exercise with or without others got cognitive benefits over those who were inactive. But they say even more noteworthy was the fact that benefits of exercising rose more than 14% when the subjects of the study exercised with others, at least twice a week. The study conducted at the University of Tsukuba in Japan looked at nearly 4,400 older adults for a period of 4 years. A new study finds Americans living in rural areas might have higher risk of heart failure. Researchers from the U.S. National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute studied the data from more than 2,700 people in 12 states. Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and Arkansas were some of the places researchers analyzed. They found that adults who live in rural areas over the country had 19% higher chances of developing heart failure compared to those who didn't live in those areas. The risks were even higher among men, where they had a 34% higher chance of developing disease. Heart failure affects nearly 6.5 million people in the U.S. each year. That so-called flush feeling you get from a few alcoholic drinks may be a sign your health is threatened. A new study from Stanford University School of Medicine shows that flush feeling in your face and ears could also be tied to an inherited genetic condition. It could indicate a gene variant that makes you deficit in an enzyme that helps metabolism alcohol. The study says alcohol flush could indicate possible life-threatening alignments such as an inflammatory response that restricts blood flow and results in a coronary artery disease. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And we've got icy conditions across the area. The MoDOT cameras around the metro showing that. In fact, the one at 32nd in range line completely iced over. We're going to break down your full forecast when we come back.
Right now at 5:30, a diver from KISS Rebreathers tragically passed away during one of the expeditions, and the cause of his unfortunate death has been revealed.
We've got winter weather advisories, some canceled classes out there as well. As you can see from our camera at 7th and range line, it is icy. We're going to talk about the full forecast and this wintry weather coming up.
Also, the state of Kansas issues an emergency suspicion of daycare located in Fort Scott.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:28. I'm Carrie Worthen.
I'm Chris Warner. So it is icy. It is cold out there. We've already got a number of cancellations, which you can see scrolling across the bottom of your TV screen. I've also learned that Joplin Schools is also canceled today. I haven't seen it come up in the list yet, but they have canceled as well. And a lot of these cancellations on the Missouri side of things right now. We're starting our morning with a traffic alert simply because we do have some tricky roads out there. Taking a live look at the MoDOT cameras across the metro area. It's hard to see, but that shine out there on the roads, that is ice, and it is enough that it is causing dangerous road conditions across the area. So on the Kansas side of things, you can see KDOT is reporting some wet pavement to partly covered roadways across portions of southeast Kansas. So you need to slow down and give the plow crews time to do their job. Now on the Missouri side, we've seen a little bit more of this wintry mixed nasty stuff out there. So along and south of I-44 and up around the Stockton-Greenfield area, we are looking at covered roadways across the area. And We've got most or partly covered roadways around the Joplin area. Points north of that, though, say around Lamar, Nevada, we're looking at mostly clear. We've also just learned that McDonald County schools will be closed today, and this will be AMI Day number 2. And for Joplin, by the way, this is your first AMI Day, so don't forget about that. If you are traveling, which is not advised in the areas where we've seen the slick stuff, we're looking at a 5 to 10 minutes extra on scraping that stuff out. So let's take a quick look. Winter weather advisories. Long and north of I-44, those two counties, we're looking until 9 a.m. South of I-44 in Missouri until midnight tonight. Northeast Oklahoma through 6 a.m. Let's take a quick look at current conditions. We're 18 in Joplin, feeling like 4. We have cloudy skies out there. If I can get this thing to go, there we are. And we are cold across the area. 15 Iola, 20 Miami, Neosho, and 19 Carthage. Wind makes it feel like 1 in Iola, 6 in Miami, 8 in Carthage. So it is a very cold day. We're only looking at a high of right around 29. We'll see some stray flurries out there. A light wintry mix again this evening for some of us along and south of I-44. And we will start to warm up, though, as we head into the weekend. We'll have a more in-depth look at your forecast a little later. But it is going to be cold, slick, and dangerous this morning. So take it easy out there.
All right, thank you, Chris. The state of Kansas issues an emergency suspension of a licensed daycare home in Fort Scott. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment issued the suspension to the IM Special Daycare located on 402 South Little Street. Between July 14th and October 24th last year, investigators conducted surveys and found unclean conditions, including mouse infestations and allowing children to play with toys in an area infested with mice droppings. The reports show that the daycare continued to allow pets to defecate inside the daycare, and floors were sticky from dried dog feces and dog urine. There's also power strips and window blind cords not placed in safe places away from children. To find the full order of suspension, go to KOAMnewsnow.com. The Albers Marine 17th Annual Hunting and Fishing Show wrapped up at the Pittsburgh Memorial Auditorium. The indoor exhibits include boats, ATVs, and vendor booths. Booths offered sporting gear, crafts, and food. Seminars featured guest speakers were held for both hunters and fishermen. The show also held a kids casting contest on Saturday.
This event is a very important event. It's our 17th annual fishing and hunting show. We've had a ton of people come through. It's a new way for people to get out and see the new product, the new boats, anything from taxidermy to side-by-sides, all kinds of good stuff that's out here.
The show was free to the public. The report analyzing the circumstances that led to an October diving fatality in Southwest Missouri is complete. KOAM received a copy through the public records request with Missouri Highway Patrol. KOAM's Amber Jenkins spoke with a diving analyst expert and has details.
Tragedy struck Roaring River State Park during a dives team expedition to find the bottom of Roaring River's underwater cave. In October 2022, divers from Kids Free Breathers explored Roaring River in teams of 2. Unfortunately, one of the divers, Eric Hahn, drowned during one of the expeditions. This video is from Hahn's YouTube channel and our own story with Hahn shot weeks before the tragedy.
I was a recreational open water diver when I was a kid, thanks to my uncle and my grandfather for introducing me to the sport.
KOAM received this report explaining what happened on that fateful dive. Scuba tanks use a mixture of oxygen and nitrogen gas. And in this report, it finds that in this case that the oxygen levels was higher than it should have been for a dive at 190 feet. It can also impair a diver.
It's almost like drinking alcohol or smoking weed. You're just not as quick in your thoughts as you were.
According to the report, a diving partner says Hahn flailed his arms and legs during the dive. Tillman says that's consistent with oxygen toxicity.
We're not sure if he panicked or if he was just uncomfortable of sorts. Oxygen seizures, that is something you realize when it's too late. So that usually underwater you can't really tell if someone is going to have a seizure.
The report finds a second emergency tank, known as a bailout bottle, also had a higher ratio of oxygen than it should.
The oxygen content in the tank attached was definitely, or in the bailout that is also used for feeding that rebreather, was definitely too high. So that would have been a human error, basically.
When I spoke to Hahn mere weeks before the incident, He was hopeful and proud of his dive team.
But one of the reasons that this project has been so successful has been due to the open-mindedness as well as camaraderie between the KISS Rebreathers dive team.
Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
KOAM reached out to KISS Rebreathers dive team for a comment, but received no response. This morning we are discussing marriage.
Yeah, Geraldine Chambers giggles as she reflects on her marriage to her husband, Willie. It's been nearly a century since they met. Willie is 99 and his sassy bride is 98 years young. Mr. Chambers remembers the moment he finally mustered up the courage to share his feelings.
In late 1930s, church and school was the only place the two could snag a glimpse of each other. Miss Chamber, well, she didn't make it easy. And his wife, Mr. Chambers, says he found that God intended for him to have. And the last 8 decades was a choice he made every day.
That brings us to our question for you this morning. How long have you been married? So far, 28% of you say that you're not married. 58% of you say you have been married 16 years or longer. And 14% of you say you fall in that 9 to 15 years category. My wife and I fall in that 4 to 8 category this year. So very exciting times.
I'm not married, but maybe one day.
It's a possibility. You never know what the future holds. Well, make sure you vote through our website, through our app. Take part in discussion on our Facebook page. Maybe share what makes your marriage work.
That's a look at our top news stories coming up on this half hour on KOAM Morning News. A bear in the park cam takes "Let Me Take a Selfie" to a whole different level.
Plus, some adorable penguins warm the hearts of visitors to the Guadalajara Zoo. We'll have the latest.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, the U.S. says it has killed a senior ISIS leader in Somalia as well as 10 other ISIS members. The operation took place in northern Somalia in the mountainous region where Bali al-Sudani had worked to promote ISIS work and fund their terror campaigns around the world. The U.S. attack had been planning for this several months. In Haiti, violent protests broke out in Port-au-Prince over gang violence that's left several police officers dead. Some police even joined the riots. It got so bad, a top advisor says the prime minister was ferried away by special forces and taken to a safe location. Demonstrators also made their way to the country's main airport, knocking over barriers and storming the building as the prime minister returned to Haiti from a trip. The recorded cold weather that has been hitting Japan may not be over just yet. A cold front may strengthen again on Saturday. Areas from northern to western Japan could see more snow. Even in central Tokyo, snow flurries were scattered Friday night. People around the country were being told to watch for blizzards, heavy snow, ocean waves, and frozen roads. A British teen has been sentenced for his far-right videos that had been linked to 2 U.S. mass shootings. The judge called Daniel Harris highly dangerous. The 19-year-old was sentenced to 11 and a half years on Friday. Harris' videos were shared by the man who had pleaded guilty to killing 10 black people in Buffalo, New York, as well as the suspect accused of killing 5 people at an LGBT community nightclub in Colorado. A traffic accident out of London where a man was killed by pop-up toilet. Police say the victim was a maintenance worker who was doing work on the hydraulic telescopic urinal and somehow became trapped underneath and was crushed to death. Firefighters responded to the scene outside the Palace Theater Friday, but after a 2-hour rescue attempt could not save him. The pop-up fatalities remain underground during the day, but rise to the street level at night to offer accommodations. Passengers are scared for their lives as a bus crashed into a lake in eastern Turkey. No deaths have been reported, but at least 3 people were injured and taken to the hospital after the bus sank into the water. The vehicle had 7 passengers on board and it was making its way to the ferry terminal. After the crash, divers searched the water. The cause of the crash isn't immediately known. A strong earthquake rocks northwest Iran, killing several people and injuring hundreds more. Iran state TV says the 5.9 magnitude quake hit the city of Azerbaijan province Saturday night. At least 3 people have been killed and over 800 others were hurt. Many buildings suffered extensive damage. The Iranian Interior Minister says the quake affected 70 villages where emergency responders and relief workers have been deployed. Israel is reeling from what being called the deadliest attack on country in years. 6 people dead and 4 wounded after a Palestinian gunman opened a fire outside a synagogue in Jerusalem Friday. The gunman was later shot by police. The attack taken place as worshippers celebrated the Jewish Sabbath and one day after Israel army raided the West Bank, killing 9 people. A Japanese YouTuber became a victim of credit card fraud, and how it happened is very fishy. The YouTuber posts videos of his pet fish playing games on the Nintendo Switch. The fish was able to play it by using motion-detected technology. The technology tracks the fish and inputs commands. During a recent live stream, the video game Pokemon crashed but did not stop following the fish's movements. The fish swam in a way that let it access the Nintendo store. It ended up buying about $4 worth of content using a credit card that was already saved to the account. It also exposed the owner's credit card information for everyone to see. Nintendo did give the owner a refund after he told him what happened. South Africa announced that it signed an agreement with India to reintroduce dozens of cheetahs to the country after 9 of the big cats were sent from Namibia. The first batch of 12 cheetahs are to be flown over in February, and the plan includes to relocate further 12 annual for the next 8 to 10 years. The aim for this is to achieve the number of ecological objectives, including restoring the role of cheetah in India and enhancing the livelihood options and economics of the local communities. Cheetahs were declared extinct in India in 1952 and are the only large carnivore in the country that have suffered from that fate. A cool bird in the cold environment heats up the hearts of zoo visitors. 6 recently born Adia penguin chicks are grabbing the spotlight and eyes of patrons of the Guadalajara Zoo in Mexico. The chicks were born after 12 eggs were transported in incubators. Thanks to plane flight by San Diego SeaWorld to Mexico, the other 6 eggs haven't hatched yet. The Guadalajara Zoo is one of few that can handle Antarctic species that lived in the controlled environment under 32 degrees Fahrenheit. The chicks get special feeding from staff and plenty of artificial snow days. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, and we are beginning with a traffic alert, especially for drivers in southwest Missouri and northeast Oklahoma. Take a look at the MoDOT cameras around the Joplin metro area. 32nd and Range line is completely iced over, and what you can't see otherwise is the black ice that's out there on the roadways. Now, plow crews are out. They've been taking care of business, but we've been seeing roads are quite icy, again, especially southwest Missouri and into northeast Oklahoma. Now, on the Kansas side, we've still got KDOT reporting some partially covered roadways in parts of southeast Kansas and some wet pavement in others, so slow down, give yourself plenty of time. On the Missouri side, if you're south of I-44, MoDOT reporting covered roadways, and then along and north of I-44, we've got some partly covered roadways, but as you head further north toward Lamar, Nevada, road conditions do begin to improve as a lot of this has been confined down south. So if you are in those areas, we're looking at an additional 5 to 10 minutes as a possibility for scraping that ice off because it's been going on all evening long. Winter weather advisories north of I-44 until 9 a.m., south of I-44 until midnight tonight, northeast Oklahoma through 6 a.m. So a very wide variety of expiration times on these. All right, 18 in Joplin, feels like 4 with a north breeze of 14. We'll talk about why the ones south of I-44 go a little longer here in just a moment. 15 Iola, 16 Pittsburgh, 20 Miami, Neosho, 19 Carthage. You factor in that breeze, feels like 1 Yates Center, Iola, 4 in Columbus, 7 in Miami, 12 Neosho, feels like 4 in Lamar. The MoDOT cameras again showing us what you can't see for sure, though, is icy conditions out there, which is why you've got to slow down. Red light for your morning drive as we've got a light wintry mix persisting. It'll start to clear out, maybe a stray flurry or two, and we are very cold. And a red light for your drive home because, again, along and south of I-44 this evening, additional wintry weather is possible, and temperatures don't get out of the 20s. Not all schools are canceled. Again, a lot of southeast Kansas is missing out on this activity, so we have a number of schools there still in session. We have learned Webb City is canceled today. It'll be an AMI day. We're at 17 at 7 a.m. with a light wintry mix for some of us. Winds gusting to 25, up to about 23 by 3 o'clock, again with those gusty winds, and that'll lead to dangerously cold wind chills today. 29, the expected high. We may be a little cooler than that in some locations. Again, with that wintry mix this evening, and as we head into tonight, we'll drop back down to 20 degrees, so no melting taking place. It's all up to the road crews, and they are doing an excellent job out there, and we will have cloudy skies. So let's talk about this evening. We go into tonight, and here it is, that wintry mix again, along and south of I-44, returning this evening, and that's why some of these winter weather advisories run through midnight, because we could see some additional buildup. Heading into tomorrow, we have the chance of maybe some light flurries, maybe a little bit of light snow, and then we've got additional winter weather chances tomorrow evening, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that. We're not anticipating major accumulations, but with this ice, no major accumulations, and it's still leading to school closings and dangerous road conditions, so be careful. We're a little warmer as we head through, and maybe a wintry mix early Thursday morning, and then we get back into the 50s by this upcoming weekend, so hopefully Punxsutawney Phil here does not see his shadow on Thursday. We're back with more right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Multiple tractor-trailer crashes occur on a night of inclement road conditions. Just after 7 p.m. Sunday night, Newton County Central Communications were alerted to crashes at I-49 and US 60. Authorities discovered 2 tractor-trailers left I-49 and crashed below onto US 60. One crashed through the median between the bridges over US 60. One crash trapped the driver. Troopers say that drivers and passengers suffered non-life-threatening injuries. A Knoll, Missouri fire investigation turns into a death investigation. Just before 7 a.m. Sunday morning, McDonald County Emergency 911 were alerted to a structure fire near North Kings Highway and Railroad Street inside the city limits. Authorities discovered a shed fully involved in fire. While crews extinguished the blaze, they discovered a body that had perished in the fire. The subject has not been identified, but authorities believe the deceased was living in the shed. The Missouri State Fire Marshal was contacted to assist in investigation of the fire. Authorities plan to conduct an autopsy this week. The Joplin Esports Booster Club hosted their inaugural fundraising tournament at Joplin High School. Competitors played Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for $850 prize pool. More than 100 competitors signed up to play from other high schools, colleges, and even professional level. The Art Forms Gallery in Pittsburgh hosted their final workshop of the month with artist Diarra Calborn. Workshop participants were able to design their own apron with the Zimby bag tech technique. The only thing artists needed to bring was a hairdryer. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. We'll be right back. Sometimes it takes a while to strike the perfect selfie. A bear in Colorado bared all, about 400 times, on a trail camera. Jeannie Moose takes a look at all the pictures.
Might as well just grin and bear it. The bear selfie has arrived, with one bear in Boulder, Colorado, seemingly taking his cue from Madonna. Normally, the City of Boulder Open Space and Mountain Parks trail cams capture bears scratching or eating or giving viewers a rear view, but sometimes the bears investigate the cameras. And out of 580 images captured by one trail cam,
about 400 were bear selfies. So obviously the bear was looking for, the right angle.
Full-on frontal side profile. This one is giving me Lolita, noted one viewer.
I feel pretty, oh so pretty. I feel pretty and witty and gay.
We don't even know if this bear is a girl or a boy.
I can't say for sure.
It didn't take that.
That's exactly, yeah.
And just like with human selfies, there were rejects, a paw instead of a face. Wildlife experts never know which critters will trigger their motion-activated cameras. Be it a wild turkey, a prairie dog, a leaping fox, or a howling coyote. And now we're howling over 400 bear selfies, playing an actress trying to come out of hibernation.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Maybe not that close-up. And quit baring your tongue. Jeannie Mose, CNN, New York.
We'll be right back with another look at your forecast.
Welcome back. We've got a high of about 29 degrees today. We've got maybe a stray flurry or two. With gusty winds, we're talking wind chills in the single digits to lower teens, so dangerously cold out there. We have some schools that have been canceled. That's been running along the bottom of your screen. Once we get through today, we're going to be cloudy tonight, still a bit breezy down to 20, so that means, again, dangerously cold wind chills out there. And as we look ahead, there's some good news on the horizon. We've got another chance of some afternoon and evening snow showers, a little bit of a wintry mix tomorrow, only up to 27. Then take a look at Wednesday, up to 40. We're hoping after a light wintry mix Thursday morning that Punxsutawney Phil does not see his shadow, because I'm already over winter, but you know, that's what it is. After that, though, we are over winter, at least briefly, as temperatures return back into the 50s as we head into the upcoming weekend. We'll have the latest on this icy weather we're seeing this morning when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Right now at 6, on a night of inclement weather road conditions, a pair of tractor trailers crashed off I-49 and onto US 60.
And those icy conditions continuing. This is our Tower Cam at 7th and Range Line iced over. We'll take a look at road conditions and today's forecast coming up.
Also getting their recognition, the Joplin Police Department celebrates some of their finest with a badge pinning ceremony.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. I'm Carrie Worthen.
I'm Chris Warner. We have a lot to get to in terms of weather this morning. One of the first things we want to mention, we do have a traffic alert for everybody roughly along and south of I-44. We've got icy conditions across the region. Taking a look at the MoDOT cameras across the metro area, you can see the one at 32nd and Range Line completely iced over. Road crews are out working. They're doing their best to get this all cleared out, but do give them time. And if you are along and south of I-44, for sure, take it easy. Do not travel if you don't need to. We got a number of school closings scrolling across the bottom of your page. A few technical issues, so there are some that aren't listed, but Joplin is canceled. It is an AMI day, as well as Webb City is canceled as well, and McDonald County. Commerce, Oklahoma, and Wyandotte, Oklahoma also canceled today. Road conditions on the Kansas side. KDOT reporting some partly covered roadways and some wet pavement in parts of southeast Kansas. As you can see, it's mostly east of 169. And then we go to Missouri, and it's a little bit worse here, where we've been seeing a little more of this icy stuff come down. If you're along south of I-44 and then again up by the Stockton-Greenfield area, MoDOT reporting some covered roadways, otherwise some partly covered roadways around the Joplin area, east towards Springfield. And as you head up I-49 north from Lamar to Nevada, we've got clear conditions because, again, a lot of this has been confined along and south of I-44. So if you're in that area, we're looking at an additional 5 to 10 minutes of scraping time out there if you're heading out, and it is not recommended. Joplin Police Department's issued their emergency road conditions. We'll have more on that here in a few minutes. All right, winter weather advisories. You can see parts of northeast Oklahoma have been taken out, but if you're north of I-44 Missouri, it runs until 9 a.m. South of I-44 Missouri, it runs through midnight, and the remaining county, Delaware County, northeast Oklahoma, that runs until 6 a.m. this morning. Icy conditions out there, 16 in Joplin. Feels like 2 with a north-northeast breeze at 14. And we're going to have gusty winds out there this morning as well throughout the afternoon. 15 in Iola, Fort Scott, 16 Pittsburgh, 20 Miami, 19 in Neosho. And with the wind, it feels like 0 in Yates Center, 1 in Iola, 2 Fort Scott, 7 in Miami, 9 in Neosho, and 4 in Carthage. So dangerously cold wind chills. MoDOT cameras, black ice is the problem here because take a look. Can you see it? No, you can't. But I guarantee you it is out there, which is why you need to slow down. That's why we have a red light for the morning commute, a light wintry mix letting up through the morning drive. We're in the teens, and we get into the 20s later. And then this evening, along and south of I-44, another round of wintry weather possible, so another red light there. For those kids, especially in southeast Kansas, where they really haven't seen much, still going to school, we're at 17 by 7 a.m. with gusty winds, 23 by 3 o'clock. We are heading for a high of roughly 29 degrees today. Stray flurry or two possible through the afternoon, and that wintry mix returns this evening. And again, wind chill single digits to lower teens. Same into tonight as we drop back down to 20 degrees. And a quick look. We've got warmer weather on the horizon. A wintry mix possible tomorrow evening, maybe again Thursday morning, and then we're back into the 50s by this weekend. But again, a number of schools, especially in southwest Missouri, along and south of I-44 and into northeast Oklahoma, canceling this morning. So make sure you keep an eye on that. Make sure you're listening. Check Facebook pages for those schools to be up on the latest closings list. And of course, we've got some dangerous road conditions out there too, so do be cautious.
All right, thank you, Chris. Due to inclement weather, the Joplin Police Department has initiated emergency road conditions. Under these conditions, the department asks all drivers to only venture out if it is absolutely necessary. They say if you are involved in a traffic crash and nobody is injured, that the drivers are to exchange information, including names, addresses, phone numbers, insurance companies, and policy numbers. Drivers should also move their vehicles off the roadway as soon as possible. Officers will only respond to any crash involving injuries or where one of the drivers leaves the scene without exchanging information. Multiple tractor-trailer crashes occur on a night of inclement road conditions. Just after 7 p.m. Sunday night, Newton County Central Communications were alerted to crashes at I-49 and US 60. Authorities discovered 2 tractor-trailers left I-49 and crashed below on US 60. One crashed through the median between the bridges over US 60. One crash trapped the driver. Troopers say the drivers and passengers suffered non-life-threatening injuries. A Knoll, Missouri fire investigation turns into a death investigation. Just before 7 a.m. Sunday morning, McDonald County Emergency 911 were alerted to a structure fire near North Kings Highway and Railroad Street inside city limits. Authorities discovered a shed fully involved in fire. While crews extinguished the blaze, they discovered a body that had been perished in the fire. The subject has not been identified, but authorities believe that deceased was living in the shed. The Missouri State Fire Marshal was contacted to assist in the investigation, and the fire authorities plan to conduct an autopsy this week. You can follow this a developing story on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Some police officers in Joplin were recognized for their accomplishments as they have completed their training requirements. Officials say this event happens usually 2 or 3 times a year, depending on the groups of trainees that completed 16 weeks of field training. One of the special parts about the day was officers' families members joining the event at the Public Safety Training Facility, pinning badges.
They come up and they actually take the badge, will pin it on their loved one, just recognizing their accomplishments, because families, they go through a lot being married or related to a police officer, and so they're part of it as well too, and we allow them that opportunity to pin the badge on their loved one.
3 officers joined the force and 1 was promoted. Coming up later in the show, KOAM's Yana Hatala takes us to the ceremony for a closer look at the story. Local volunteers from Neosho and Diamond, Missouri met up at Shoal Creek for a stream cleanup. The Missouri Stream team worked near the Allen Bridge access and picked up trash for several miles in the area. Officials say these cleanups are important to helping keep Missouri naturally beautiful, as well as keeping waterways safe and clean.
What gets us going is the fact that we all use the rivers and creeks, and we like to have a clean environment to use. We don't like a lot of garbage and what have you. And so we're actually not only helping the community, but we're helping ourselves.
The organization says the stream teams are made up of people with an interest in and passion for Missouri streams. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Memphis Police Department reveals more officers of duty pending further investigations into the death of Tyre Nichols. This following the release of body cam footage from the nights of Nichols' arrest. Plus, a cheap device could prevent dangerous childbirths, And it all starts with a simple surgical glove. And Chris has the latest on your Super Frost Monday forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, tributes, prayers, and protests continue around the nation for Tyree Nichols, who died after a violent encounter with Memphis police earlier this month. Friday's release of camera footage has sparked calls for more public safety officials to be held accountable. Jared Hill has the report.
Over the weekend, protests to honor Tyree Nichols after the city of Memphis released video showing the violent January 7th police arrest that led to his death 3 days later. With the Nichols family. The Memphis Grizzlies held a moment of silence before Sunday's game.
Prayers, to his family. It's just, mind-blowing and, scary.
Churches offered prayers.
We're praying for that young man's family, for his loved ones, for his friends. They're hurting, and we're hurting as well.
The city of Memphis is now preparing to lay Tyree Nichols, a 29-year-old dad who loved to skateboard, to rest in a public funeral on Wednesday.
I was very heartbroken to see brothers do that to the other brother, and it just made me sick to my stomach.
A February 17th bond arraignment hearing has been scheduled for the 5 ex-officers involved, according to Shelby County online court records. Each faces multiple charges, including second-degree murder. Several sheriff's deputies and fire department employees who were at the scene during the incident have been relieved of duty pending investigations amid calls for further disciplinary action.
Had first aid been rendered, maybe Tyree would have been beat up, bones broken, but he would still be alive. So those that just watched him die, they are to be held as accountable as the ones that beat and brutalized him.
Meanwhile, the Memphis police chief disbanded the Scorpion Anti-Crime Unit, which the 5 former officers charged belonged to. The DA says there had been complaints in the past. Jared Hill, CBS News, Memphis.
More protests are planned for later today in Memphis and other cities. Memphis NAACP President Van Turner has called for police reform action at the state and federal level. The Congressional Black Caucus says it has a meeting scheduled at the White House this week to discuss justice system reforms. The parents of Tyree Nichols have accepted an invitation from the caucus chairman to attend next Tuesday's State of the Union address. That's a look at one of today's top national stories. Here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we are looking at icy conditions out there, and that's what makes it dangerous. Take a look at these cameras. Aside from the one at 32nd and Range Line, which is iced over, can you see the ice on these roads? You probably can't, and that's what makes it more dangerous. We'll talk about road conditions and the forecast ahead when the KOAM Morning News returns. Okay, we do have a growing list of school closings scrolling across the bottom of your screen, but again, a few having some technical difficulties with our system, so I wanted to pass these along. We have Joplin, Webb City, McDonald County, Commerce, Wyandotte, Miami, Quapaw, Afton, NEO, Baxter Springs, and Galena, all also now on that list. We do have a traffic alert, and here's the reason why. We have got icy conditions across the area. Taking a look at the MoDOT cameras, it's hard to see, but there's black ice out there. This shine is not from rain. This is black ice. And while road crews are working to clear these streets, it is still dangerous driving conditions out there because that black ice, you don't see it until you hit it. And that's when you lose control. And if you are driving too quickly, it could be a very dangerous, potentially life-threatening situation. KDOT reporting some partially covered roadways and wet pavement across extreme southeast Kansas. On the Missouri side, MoDOT still reporting some covered roadways along and south of I-44. And then from I-44 north through Jasper County and out toward Mount Vernon and Greenfield, these are partly covered roadways. And then I-49 and points north in Barton and Vernon counties, we've got clear roadways, but you head a little further east, Greenfield to Stockton, we're looking at partly covered to covered roadways out there. If you are where the ice has been accumulating, we are looking at an additional 5 to 10 minutes of scrape time this morning because it's a good layer of ice out there. So it gets a little wild. North of I-44 Missouri, winter weather advisories through 9 a.m. South of I-44 Missouri, winter weather advisories through midnight tonight. Delaware County and northeast Oklahoma, winter weather advisory through 6 this morning. Icy camera at 7th and Range Line, 16 in Joplin, feeling like 2 with a north-northeast breeze at 14, and that wind will be gusting as well, so that's going to lead to dangerously cold wind chills. We'll take a look at those here in a second. 15, Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott, 20, Miami, 19, Neosho, 16, Carthage with the wind. Feels like 0 in Yates Center, 1 in Iola, 4, Columbus, 7, Miami, 9 in Neosho, and feels like 4 in Lamar and Carthage as well. Again, MoDOT cameras showing us some icy conditions. Again, it's hard to see, but those roads are slick. That's why we have a red light for your morning drive, especially if you're where this stuff's been falling. Light wintry mix continues for part of your morning drive. We're in the teens. And then we have a red light for the drive home because along and south of I-44, we have another potential of another wintry mix later this evening. Now, a lot of southeast Kansas schools outside of Cherokee, Crawford County area are still going to school. And so for that, 17 at 7 a.m., maybe a light flurry or two, and then mostly cloudy and 23 by 3 o'clock. Winds again gusting to 25. A high of about 29. We'll have wind chills in the single digits to lower teens, and then that wintry mix builds in again this evening. Again, along and south of I-44, 20 for our overnight low under mostly cloudy skies and still a bit breezy, so very cold out there. Another chance late afternoon and through the evening on Tuesday for a wintry mix and up to 27. Then we're 40 Wednesday. A cool night Wednesday night could lead to a light wintry mix Thursday morning. Hopefully no shadow from the groundhog on Thursday. But after that, shadow or not, we start warming back up and we are in the 50s by this upcoming weekend. Remember, school closing scrolling across the bottom of your page. We'll keep you updated as the morning goes on and have more on your forecast and the morning news when we come back.
Topping Health Watch this morning, a third COVID booster reduces deaths among patients with pre-existing conditions by 90%. That's a result of a study published in the Canadian Medical Association Journal. Researchers say people with multiple health conditions are much more likely to survive COVID if they had a third dose compared to people who only had 2. A device that only costs $1 could help prevent dangerous childbirths. Researchers from London show doctors can put sensors onto a regular surgical glove. The glove can then help doctors determine the orientation of a fetus and gently apply pressure to help prevent obstructed labor. And anesthesiologists can help reduce greenhouse gases by decreasing the amount of gas they use during surgery. The American Society of Anesthesiologists say patient care is not negatively impacted when less gas is used during procedures. Anesthetic gas is a significant contributor to carbon emissions. 1 hour of surgery is equivalent to driving a car 470 miles. Scientists are turning rats into detectives. They are being trained to sniff out and detect tuberculosis, an infectious killer that takes more than 1 million lives every year. Dan Lieberman reports.
Scientists in Tanzania are using these giant pouched rats to sniff out tuberculosis, thanks to their superior sense of smell.
These are special cells within the lining of our nasal passages which pick up on scents. Rats tend to have 50% of the lining covered by the scent receptors, while humans only have about 5% of their lining covered with scent receptors.
Come on. It's these receptors that enable the rats to detect scents faster, with the potential to save lives.
The conventional laboratory techniques can take anywhere from 2 hours to even 14 days per sample, while the rats would be able to accomplish testing of 50 samples within 2 hours.
And researchers say the rats are accurate. Their studies show the animals' smell test can be even more accurate than standard bacteria culture tests. In addition, rats can detect TB in people living with HIV.
They can easily identify tuberculosis in people living with HIV, giving in mind that these people living with HIV, it's very difficult to be diagnosed by the standard test.
Tuberculosis killed nearly 200,000 people living with HIV in 2021. Scientists hope the World Health Organization approves their method of TB testing soon. Dan Lieberman, CBS News, New York.
Researchers say the accuracy of the rats as compared to culture tests was 75%. Their goal is 90%. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And we are beginning this morning with a traffic alert for us, especially along and south of I-44 as we're dealing with icy conditions out there. The MoDOT camera 32nd in range line completely iced over. What you can't see, though, is that black ice that's out there, so you need to be cautious. KDOT reporting some partly covered roadways and wet pavement across southeast Kansas. Cherokee County, we're starting to see some schools down there cancel. Baxter, Riverton, Galena. On the Missouri side, we have a lot more cancellations. We even have some in northeast Oklahoma as well this morning. We've got covered roadways south of I-44, partly covered roadways along I-44, and as you head north in Barton and Vernon County, we're looking at clear roadways, but a little further east between Greenfield and Stockton, we've got covered to partly covered roadways. So if you're under the ice accumulation that we've been getting, it's kind of thick on your windshield. So we're looking at maybe 5 to 10 minutes extra to scrape it off. Winter weather advisories north of I-44 in Missouri through 9 a.m., south of I-44 in Missouri through midnight tonight. We'll tell you why in a second. And Delaware County, northeast Oklahoma through 6 this morning. Icy conditions, 16 in Joplin, feels like 2 with a north-northeast breeze at 14. Cold temperatures, dangerously cold wind chills this morning and through today. 15 Iola, 18 Chitopa, Miami, and Neosho, 16 Carthage, Lamar, Nevada. With the wind chill, feels like 1, Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott, Lamar, Columbus. 5 in Miami, Neosho, and feels like 4 in Carthage, and feels like 1 below in Greenfield. We have a red light for your morning drive with the icy conditions, a light wintry mix persisting and temperatures in the teens, and a red light for your drive home because this evening, again, along and south of I-44, another wintry mix possible. Now, for kids that are still going to school, we're looking at 17, maybe a light wintry mix at 7 a.m. and 23 by 3 o'clock, mostly cloudy and very cold, a high of 29 today. Later this evening, we could even get thunder sleet along and south of I-44. So be aware of that. 20 for our low tonight. Again, a little bit breezy. Wind chills in the single digits to lower teens. We get warmer, though. Wintry mix possible tomorrow afternoon and evening. And then we're back through the 50s as we head into the upcoming weekend. We're back with more right after this.
Right now at 6:30, conditions at a Fort Scott Daycare Center forces state of Kansas to issue an emergency suspension of services.
We've got icy conditions on our tower cam at 7th and range line, which means icy conditions below, really along and south of I-44. We're going to talk about this wintry mix coming up.
Also getting the recognition, the Joplin Police Department celebrates some of their finest with a badge pinning ceremony.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Carrie Worthen.
I'm Chris Warner. So we've got a lot to go over. One of the first things I wanted to cover is we've learned that some area schools are having some difficulty logging into our system, which you'll see schools and other closings at the bottom of your screen. But for the ones that are having some difficulties, we've also got Joplin, Webb City, McDonald County, Commerce, Wyandotte, Miami, Quapaw, Afton, NEO, and Baxter Springs, as well as MSSU, all closed today. Now, if it's an AMI day, you need to check with the district's Facebook page. They'll let you know for sure. We have a traffic alert for us this morning as we are dealing with icy conditions along and south of I-44. MoDOT cameras across the area, you can't see the ice, and that's the problem because you can't see it. That's why it's black ice. It blends in with the road. So slow down. Give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going. KDOT is reporting some partly covered to wet pavement across parts of southeast Kansas. And because it's Cherokee County, you know, you think of Galena, Baxter, and Riverton. They're right down there, and they're right on the edge of where some of this icy stuff built up. So it makes sense that they are closed today. And then in Missouri, MoDOT reporting covered roadways south of I-44, partly covered along I-44, and with the exception of the Stockton-Greenfield area, you head to Lamar, Nevada, they're reporting clear roadways. That ice buildup on your windshield could take an additional 5 to 10 minutes to scrape off of there, so be prepared if you're traveling, but travel not advised. Okay, we'll have to update this. So it looks like the counties north of I-44, the winter weather advisory has been dropped, but south of I-44, so that's Monette, Neosho, Anderson, Cassville, that still runs through midnight tonight, and Delaware County still going through 6 a.m. 16 in Joplin, feeling like 2 with a north-northeast breeze at 14. It is bitterly cold out there. 15, Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott, 18, Miami, Neosho. Wind chill feels like 1, Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott. 1 below in Greenfield, feels like 5 in Miami this morning. Let's go ahead and just get right to today real quick. So we're looking at a high of about 29. With those gusty winds, we're talking wind chills in the single digits to lower teens. And then we have a wintry mix coming in again this evening along and south of I-44. Could even get some thunder sleet with some of this activity. Then we're down to a low of 20 tonight. And I guess the one good thing is after we get through another wintry mix tomorrow afternoon and evening, we start warming up and we're in the 50s by this weekend. So again, we've got school closings scrolling across the bottom of your page. We've been reading some of them because they've had some difficulty getting into the system. So to recap the ones not on that list: Joplin, Webb City, McDonald County, Commerce, Wyandotte, Miami, Quapaw, Afton, NEO, Baxter Springs, and Missouri Southern, all on the list as well.
And I think Fairland, but I will check on that.
Okay, so and again, check with your school. I know some have automated systems. Check the Facebook pages. I know they're keeping you updated.
All right, thank you. The state of Kansas issues an emergency suspension of a licensed daycare home in Fort Scott. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment issued the suspension to I Am Special Daycare, located at 402 South Little Street. Between July 14th and October 24th last year, investigators conducted surveys and found unclean conditions, including mouse infestations and allowing children to play with toys in an area infested with mice droppings. The reports show that the daycare continued to allow pets to defecate inside the daycare, and floors were sticky from dried dog feces and dog urine. There are also power strips and window blind cords not placed in safe places away from children. To find the full order of suspension, go to KOAMnewsnow.com. Some police officers were recognized for their accomplishments on Friday. KOAM's Yana Hachala has more from this event.
4 police officers in the Joplin area are waiting to be rewarded for their hard work.
We're recognizing those accomplishments, and they'll be pinning their badge on them this afternoon.
3 individuals completed their training, which includes a full semester at Missouri Southern State University, following a 16-week field training. Corporal Jeff Fleener joined the group since he was recently promoted.
It's something I've always wanted to do. It's just I was ready to take that next step into law enforcement, to being a supervisor. So it's something I've always wanted to do in my career.
A special part of the day is close family members joining the event and pinning a badge on the officers. Fleener's wife and daughter place the badge on him.
They come up and they actually take the badge, we'll pin it on their loved one, just recognizing their accomplishments, because families, they go through a lot being married or related to a police officer, and so they're part of it as well too, and we allow them that opportunity to pin the badge on their loved one.
Fleener is the first law enforcement officer in his family. He is still planning to go back to college and become a sergeant one day.
It was just a childhood dream of mine. Past experiences, it really set me up to want to do this career for the rest of my life. So I think it's the best job ever.
Davis says this event happens usually 2 to 3 times a year, depending on the groups of trainees that complete all of the training.
It kind of varies just depending on the amount of openings, the amount of people that make it through training, the amount of people that we're able to get through in one particular session.
In Joplin, Yana Hachala, KOAM News.
Joplin Chaplain Program also joined the event, presenting each officer with a special gift. The Missouri School Board is looking for ideas and comments about the teaching profession from parents and substitute teachers. The Missouri statute states each substitute teacher in a public school should complete a survey at the end of each day after teaching. Right now, the state is experiencing a shortage of teachers, so the state is asking parents to provide input into the issue in a separate survey.
Attitudes about public education, about teaching. The pandemic created additional stress for our educators and for our families, and so we wanted to explore that again to see kind of the current thoughts.
Feedback in the survey for parents is anonymous. You can find both surveys on KOAMnewsnow.com. The parent survey ends today. Some Pittsburgh students got a lesson on business. 4th grade students at Lakeside Elementary hosted Just Imagine Kansas 2023. It was a culmination of project where students had to research business, create booths representing those businesses, and sell items based on that research. All the booths were set up today to create a miniature city.
It's kind of like supervisor, go around, help people. If like Pizza Hut, normally they have long lines like the teacher said, so it help out them, orders, and other stuff.
This is the 8th year of Just Imagine Kansas project. This morning we are discussing marriage.
Geraldine Chambers giggles as she reflects on her marriage to her husband, Willie. It's been nearly a century since they met. Willie is 99 and his sassy bride is 98 years young. Mr. Chambers remembers the moment he finally mustered up the courage to share his feelings.
In the late 1930s, church and school was the only place the two could snag a glimpse of each other. Miss Chamber, well, she didn't make it easy. And his wife, Mr. Chambers, says he found what God intended for him to have. And the last 8 decades was a choice he made every day.
That brings us to our question for you. How long have you been married so far? 26% of you are not married yet. 69% of you have been married more than 16 years, and 5% of you say you fall in that 9 to 15 year range. So make sure you vote through our website, through our app, and take part in the discussion and share your secrets to a long marriage on our Facebook page.
That's a look at our top news stories coming up on this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. The Beatles said money can't buy me love, but holiday shoppers are on pace to spend more on Valentine's Day than 2022.
Plus, it is a bit on the treacherous side out there. We're going to take a look at your latest forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
In Consumer Watch this morning, the Super Bowl 57 matchup is set with the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs, facing off in less than 2 weeks in Glendale, Arizona. Fans hoping to attend the big game could be looking at paying close to $5,000 on average per ticket. Travel company Hopper says NFL fans making the trip should expect to spend nearly $9,000 for tickets, flights, meals, and hotel stay. CVS and Walmart are reducing their pharmacy hours in locations across the U.S. to improve employee work-life balance as the companies struggle with staffing shortages. CVS says it will adjust hours at select locations beginning in March, while Walmart pharmacies will close 2 hours earlier at 7 p.m. on weekdays. And the National Retail Federation predicts consumers will spend nearly $26 billion this Valentine's Day, a $2 billion increase from last year. More than half of those surveyed say they will spend nearly $200 on their sweetheart or loved ones. The top 3 gifts are candy, greeting cards, and flowers. That's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, and we are beginning our morning with a traffic alert for drivers along and south of I-44. This is a live look at the MoDOT camera at 7th and Garden Grove. It's hard to see, but these reflections on the road are because we've got icy conditions out there, and that's what makes it more dangerous, is the ice blends in with the pavement. You don't know about it until you hit it. We've got a look at the KDOT conditions. We've got some partly covered roadways and wet pavement for some of us. Now, parts of Cherokee County got right in on the edge of some of this icy stuff, and that's why we do have some closings in southeast Kansas, specifically in Cherokee County. Now, on the Missouri side, more numerous closings, same in northeast Oklahoma, as we've got covered roadways south of I-44. Along I-44, we've got partly covered roadways, and then Vernon County, looking at mostly clear roadways, except for Stockton and Greenfield out to the east, where they're still dealing with some nasty roads out there. Need to scrape this morning, could take upwards of 5 to 10 extra minutes. Winter weather advisories south of I-44 run through midnight. Delaware County, that runs until 6 a.m. All right, so we've lost our camera at Joplin at 7th and Rangeline, but I still need to tell you about the conditions at least. 16 is what it is, feels like 2. North-northeast breeze at 14 out there, so it is cold. Cold start, bitterly cold wind chills too. 15 Iola, 18 Miami, 18 Neosho. With the wind chill feels like 1 Iola, Fort Scott, 4 in Miami, 5 Neosho, feels like 0 in Columbus right now. And again, we have a red light for your morning drive as we have those icy conditions and a light wintry mix, and then a red light for your evening drive as well, because we have another system bringing an additional wintry mix this evening, and along and south of I-44 could even get some thunder sleet with some of this. We'll take another look at your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. All right, time for some Monday birthdays across the 4 states. We're beginning in Bronson. with Harlan Spainhoward celebrating birthday number 4. Happy birthday.
Next, we have Gabriel Sanders, who's turning 6 from Joplin, Missouri. And there's a note saying, "We love you so much, Momo."
All right, we've got Carson Tate celebrating number 8 in Chanute with love from Aunt Rachel and the rest of the family.
Okay, we have Brooklyn Lowmiller turning 14, an 8th grader at Pittsburgh Middle School.
And we've got Alexia and Malaya Ludwig celebrating number 15, obviously some twins, in Parsons, and they attend Labette County High School. It's Alex is on the left and Malaya is on the right. Okay, all right, so it is Alexia. See, this is what, it's Monday morning, guys. Happy birthday, either way.
Okay, next we have Bo Bedine, who's turning 17 from Pittsburgh.
And Jake Harris also celebrating number 17 in Jasper. Happy birthday, Jake.
Next we have Caleb Bully, that's in quotations, Rydener, who's turning 21, who's from Pittsburgh.
And also celebrating Tessie Rittenauer, which is Caleb's aunt. Her birthday was yesterday. She celebrates number 44 in Pittsburgh. Happy birthday.
Okay, we have Jacob Jennings, who's turning 33.
And Ira Hornia celebrating number 41. Happy birthday, Ira.
We have Margie Sinclair, who's turning 67. Her birthday was actually Friday, and she's from Pittsburgh.
And we've got Lonnie Yarnell celebrating number 75 in Erie. Happy birthday.
Then we have John Bolander, who's from Parsons, Kansas.
And Ann Keller celebrating in McCune on Saturday. Happy birthday, Ann.
Next, we have John and Vicki Harris celebrating their 30th anniversary from Quapaw.
And it's a 51st anniversary for Randy and Patty Robinson in Columbus. Happy anniversary.
Next, we have Owen Varner, who's turning 11.
We've got Eliza Wells celebrating number 13 on Sunday. Happy birthday.
Chris Severt, 39, and his birthday was Saturday.
Nancy Renfro celebrating in Columbus.
Shirley Ives from Joplin, Missouri.
Bill Wilson celebrating over in Weir.
And Jesse Coolidge, birthday was yesterday on Sunday.
And Jackson Cox also celebrating a Sunday birthday. Now that is a birthday list worth celebrating right there. Let's keep it up. Carrie, how can they keep it up for us?
Well, if you want to be part of our birthday club.
Nope. Where do they need to send their birthdays to?
Yes, they need to send their birthdays to KOAMnewsnow.com/birthdays.
All right, and of course you can also email them in to us at birthdays@KOAMnewsnow.com as well. And then as Carrie was alluding to, it's that birthday club. Take time to sign up for it. You just go to KOAMnewsnow.com, you sign up for that birthday club, you get special deals from local businesses. Additionally, you get a birthday message from your friends here at KOAM, so make sure you take time to sign up for the birthday club today. All right, we got wintry weather to talk about, so we are beginning with a traffic alert for folks along and south of I-44. Taking a look at the MoDOT cameras around the Joplin area, icy conditions across the region. See this little shine on the road here at 20th and Range Line? Yeah, that would be from icy conditions. Now, road crews are out salting as best as they can, but there's still ice out there, so make sure you slow down. Give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going. On the KDOT side of things, again, we have school cancellations in Cherokee County because right through here got in on some of that ice. So we're looking at Galena, Baxter Springs, and Riverton are canceled. We've still got some wet pavement to partially covered roadways from KDOT. And as we look on the Missouri side, so by the way, Northeast Oklahoma, a number of school cancellations down there as well in Ottawa County, as they are also dealing with some of this icy buildup. We're still looking at covered roadways south of I-44. I-44 and just north into Jasper County, out east toward Mount Vernon, still partly covered. Barton and Vernon counties are looking better. They are looking to be clear to mostly clear. And you head east, Greenfield to Stockton, still some partly covered to covered roadways. That ice did build up a little bit thicker than what you might think it did on your windshield, so that could take an additional 5 to 10 minutes to get off of there. Now, the Skywatch Storm Tracker is quiet, but again, with wintry precipitation, it's hard for radar to pick up on that. South of I-44, Missouri, winter weather advisories through midnight tonight. Delaware County, your winter weather advisory still runs through 6 a.m. Now, right now in Joplin, we're looking at 16 degrees, feels like 2 with a north-northeast breeze at 14. It is cold across the area with bitterly cold, dangerously cold wind chills. 15, Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott. 16, Pittsburgh. 18, Miami, Neosho, Monette. And 16, Carthage, Lamar, and Nevada with the wind chill. Feels like 1 in Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott. 0 in Columbus. 4 in Miami. 5 Neosho. And feels like 1 below in Greenfield this morning. MoDOT cameras, again, what you can't see is the ice that's out there, so make sure you slow down because that's the biggest hazard. At least with snow, you can see it on the roadway. You know you need to go slow. Ice, you can't see until you hit it and lose control, so take it easy. It's why we have a red light for your morning drive. So we're dealing with that light wintry mix letting up, temperatures in the teens. And then this evening, the red light stays on there because along and south of I-44, another round of wintry weather possible, and we could even get some thunder sleet out of this. Now, we're not talking major accumulations, but we're talking some icy conditions for sure, especially on the roadways. For the kids that still have school today, 17 at 7 a.m. with a gusty wind, upwards of 25. Still gusty today, 3 o'clock, we're looking at 23 and mostly cloudy. A high right around about 29 degrees, maybe a pinch cooler than that. That wintry mix returns this evening. Gusty winds are going to give us wind chills in the single digits to lower teens today, and then back through the single digits, maybe even a little bit below 0 on those wind chills tonight as we drop back down to 20 under cloudy skies. All right, another chance of wintry weather Tuesday afternoon and evening, a high of 27. We're up to 40 Wednesday. Early morning wintry mix possible Thursday, 45. Hopefully no shadow from Punxsutawney Phil, and then we're back into the 50s by this upcoming weekend. We got to look at the news you need to know right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Just after 7 p.m. Sunday night, Newton County Central Communications were alerted to crashes at I-49 and US 60. Authorities discovered 2 tractor trailers left I-49 and crashed below onto US 60. One crashed through the median between the bridges over US 60. One crash trapped the driver. Troopers say the drivers and passengers suffered non-life-threatening injuries. A No Missouri fire investigation turns into a death investigation. Just before 7 a.m. Sunday morning, McDonald County Emergency 911 were alerted to a structure fire near North Kings Highway and Railroad Street inside city limits. Authorities discovered a shed fully involved in fire. While crews extinguished the blaze, they discovered a body that had been perished in the fire. The subject has not been identified, but authorities believe the deceased was living in the shed. The Joplin Esports Booster Club hosted their inaugural fundraising tournament at Joplin High School. Competitors played Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for an $850 prize pool. More than 100 competitors signed up to play from other high schools, colleges, and even the professional level. The Art Forms Gallery in Pittsburgh hosted their final workshop of the month with artist Diarrhea Calborn. Workshop participants were able to design their own apron with the Zimbabwe backtick technique. The only thing artists needed to bring was a hairdryer. That's a check at today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Real quick, we got closing scrolling at the bottom of your screen, but a few schools having some difficulty getting into the system, and they are Joplin, Webb City, McDonald County, Commerce, Wyandotte, Miami, Quapaw, Afton, Ineo, Baxter Springs, and MSSU. Heading for a high of about 25. Another wintry mix this evening. We're talking dangerously cold wind chills as well with gusty north winds. We're talking wind chills in the single digits, lower teens. 20 tonight under cloudy skies, still a bit breezy. Quick check of the 7-day forecast. Hopefully the groundhog does not see his shadow because we've got another chance of wintry weather tomorrow afternoon and evening, maybe a little bit Thursday morning, then we're back into the 50s by this weekend.
Well, coming up today at noon, we're making sheet pan toad in a hole in the Mr. Food Test kitchen.
Okay. And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Morning. Super Bowl set coming up on CBS Mornings, how the Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles got to the big game and what history will be made when these two teams meet.
Or you can switch over with us to Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, Economic Development and Tourism Director Jim Salskiski stops by the studio to tell us how the city of Parsons, Kansas is bringing the manufacturing community together and why.
We'll have a lot more of that when we see you at 7, and we'll be back tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you right here at Today at noon.